You snap at someone in a meeting and immediately regret it, but the damage is done. They're no longer thinking about your brilliant idea. They're thinking about how you made them feel. My lovely, lean in and listen up. The truth bomb is the moment of irritability cost you more than you realise. It's not about the snap itself. It's about what your snap actually communicated about your leadership. But here's what neuroscience reveals. Irritability isn't a character flaw. It's a neurochemical signal. And once you understand what's driving it, everything changes. You're managing 3 competing priorities, your inbox is exploding, and suddenly someone asks a question that shouldn't have been hard to answer. But your response is sharp, snappy, maybe even irritable. That's not who you are as a leader. You feel terrible. You judge yourself for losing your cool. You judge yourself for losing your cool. But here's the thing, my lovely, you're not broken. You are depleted. Your stress is contagious, and neuroscience explains why. When you're under pressure, your amygdala floods your system with cortisol. Your serotonin tanks. Your prefrontal cortex, the brain, part of the brain that handles grace under pressure, goes offline. That snappiness isn't a character flaw. It's a neurochemical reality. But here's the power move. When you regulate yourself, everyone around you feels safer. When you pause before responding, you gift that regulation to your entire team. In this week's episode, learn the 2 power moves that break the irritability trap. Don't buy into the drama and the power pause before the response. These aren't soft skills, they're strategic leadership tools. Welcome back, my lovely. I'm Sue-Ann Higgins, as this is the Leader Within podcast, Strategic Leadership for Women. Last week, we tackled over-explaining, the trap where you bury your core message under layers of justification. We leaned into the rule of 3. We learnt the pause technique, and hopefully you practiced both. This week, we're exploring something equally destructive in your leadership presence, something that costs you more than you realise. It's called irritability and snappiness. Here's the trap. You're stretched, you're stressed, you manage competing priorities, your inbox is overwhelming, your calendar is relentless, and somewhere in that pressure cooker, your patience completely evaporates. A team member asks you a question that you've answered 3 times already, and your response is sharper than it needed to be. Someone challenges your ideas, and instead of engaging diplomatically, you get defensive. You snap at someone in a meeting and immediately regret it, but the damage is already done. The moment of irritability just created a perception problem. The other person is now thinking about how you treated them, not about the brilliant content you delivered. You've taken a situation problem and turned it into a relationship problem. The irritability is a try harder trap. It's what happens when you push too long without addressing the root cause. And the root cause isn't that people are being annoying. The root cause is neurochemical depletion. Your brain is running out of fuel. Today, we're exploring not just how to manage irritability, but how to build diplomatic poise, the ability to lead with grace under pressure, and to start understanding what actually happens in your neurobiology when you snap. When you're stressed, that stress that's built up over time, not just in one bad day, Your body activates the fight, flight, fawn, freeze response. Your amygdala takes over. And three key neurochemical shifts. The first is cortisol, your stress hormone. In small doses, cortisol is helpful. It mobilises your body to deal with challenges. But when you're chronically stressed, cortisol stays elevated. You're walking around in a low threat response all day. The second is dopamine, your motivation and reward chemical. When dopamine drops, you feel less motivated, more irritable. Things feel hard. Simple tasks that usually energize you now feel draining. The third is serotonin, your mood regulation chemical. This is a big one for irritability. When serotonin is low, your emotional regulation capacity drops dramatically. Small annoyances feel like major affronts. You snap at things that normally wouldn't bother you. Here's what's happening in your brain. Your team member asks a question you've already answered. In normal circumstances, you would calmly re-explain. You have the neurochemical resource for patience, but your cortisol is elevated. Your serotonin is depleted. Your amygdala is hyperactive. Your amygdala is screaming threat. Your prefrontal cortex is offline. And your response? Irritability, snappiness. Maybe you even snap at the person. And here's the important part. This isn't a character flaw. It's not that you're mean or impatient. It's a neurochemical reality. Your brain's neurochemicals are depleted. The good news is that this is fixable. The strategic leaders I work with understand this. When they notice irritability rising, they don't blame themselves or the other person. They address the neurochemistry. They may take a walk to regulate the cortisol. They may get protein to stabilise the blood sugar, which affects dopamine. They may spend more time in nature to boost serotonin. And the irritability diminishes, not because they've suppressed their feelings, but because they're addressing their physiology. This is what the diplomatic poise actually looks like. It's not about being nice all the time. It's about leading with integrity, even when your nervous system is stressed. Let me help you identify which rung of the leader within Savviness Ladder you're on for diplomatic poise under pressure. If you're at rung 1 or 2, you're reactive. You snap without much awareness. You don't see the pattern. You just think people are so annoying today. You're not aware that irritability is a learnable pattern. If you're at rung 3 or 4, you notice that you snapped after the fact. You might even feel bad about it. You recognise the pattern, but you don't know how to prevent it. You feel helpless. If you're at rung 5 or 6, you catch yourself mid-snap. You can usually course correct in the moment, but it requires conscious effort every single time. Under high pressure situations, you slip back to snapping. If you're at rung 7 or 8, you see irritability coming before it peaks. You proactively regulate before the snap. You've built in early warning systems. If you're at rung 9 or 10, you're so regulated that irritability rarely surfaces. And when it does, you transform it into clarity and boundaries. Here's the coaching question for you. Which rung are you actually on for diplomatic poise under pressure? Be honest. This isn't about judgment. It's about knowing where to start. Let me paint you 3 scenarios showing you what this looks like at different rungs so that you can actually see the pattern. Rung 2 or 3 is reactive irritability. Jane is a talented operations manager. She's in a budget meeting with her director. She's stressed. She hasn't eaten since 6 a.m. She hasn't slept well in days. Her nervous system is completely shot. Her director asks, "Can you explain how you calculated these numbers?" Jane feels her irritability spike immediately. Jane says, "Why am I having to explain this again?" What she actually says is, "I sent you the breakdown 3 times. If you'd see your emails, if you would read your emails, you'd see it." Her director flinches. The room goes quiet. Jane immediately regrets it. Her director looks her. The budget strategy she spent weeks on developing, that is secondary now. What he remembers is her snap. What's happening inside Jane? Her amygdala is hijacking her response. Her prefrontal cortex wasn't available. She couldn't access the emotional regulation that she normally has. She reacted instead of responding. And what's happening in what is the director experiencing? Defensiveness, hostility. She questions whether Jane is actually ready for senior leadership. She's becoming more skeptical of her entire budget process. Jane's elevated cortisol and depleted serotonin has left her completely vulnerable. Her amygdala was running the show. Her director's mirror neurons picked up on her irritation and mirrored it back. The conversation became adversarial instead of collaborative. In this next scenario, we're at rung 5 to 6, conscious regulation. Same meeting, same director, same question. And this is a different Jane who's been doing the work. Her director asks, "Can you explain how you calculated these numbers?" Jane feels the irritation rising, but she's learned to recognise it. She's done the neurochemical work. She's ate well, taken a walk at lunch. Her nervous system is more stable. She notices the irritation, but it's not overwhelming. Inside, Jane, okay, irritation is rising, that's data. My boss isn't asking to challenge me. She's asking because that's her job. My irritation isn't about her, it's about my stress level. And what she says now, "I know I've sent this a few times and I appreciate you double checking. Let me walk you through the key assumptions that drive these numbers." Her director leans in. He feels heard and respected. She leans in. The conversation becomes collaborative instead of defensive. What's happening inside Jane? She's created space between the trigger and her response. She's addressed the irritation internally instead of externalizing it. Her prefrontal cortex has stayed online. What's her director's experience? Patient, confident. She feels respected. She's more receptive to Jane's logic. The meeting is collaborative. The neuroscience? Jane has invested in her nervous system health. Her cortisol wasn't chronically elevated anymore. Her serotonin was more stable. So when the trigger happened, she had neurochemical resources to regulate it. She had the gap that she needed. Now let's run it through rung 8, the preemptive poise. Same meeting, same director, But this is a Jane who's moved even further. 3 days ago, Jane noticed her cortisol levels were elevated. She was snapping at small things. Her team were tiptoeing around her. She recognised the pattern. So she preemptively adjusted. She took the afternoon off, went for a run, had a protein-rich dinner, got better sleep, and spent some time outside. By the time the budget meeting happened, her nervous system was regulated. Her director asks, "Can you please explain how you calculated these numbers?" Jane is calm. She's not managing irritability. Irritability isn't there because her neurochemistry is balanced. Her response, of course, the core assumption is X. This drives Y, which affects the bottom line like this. She's clear, she's confident, she's helpful, and the director thinks, this is someone I can trust with important projects. What's happening inside Jane? She's moved from reactive to conscious to proactive. She's not managing irritability in the moment anymore. She's preventing it through intentional self-care. So what is the director experiencing? Leadership, grace under pressure. She feels supported. She trusts her. The neuroscience, Jane's proactive regulation meant her nervous system never got dysregulated in the first place. She had moved to rung A. Now let's talk about how to actually apply this. I work with 2 power moves here. The first power move is 51. Don't buy into the drama. When you feel irritability rising, I use what is called my diplomatic framework to help you apply this. Here's how it works. Step 1, pause. Literally stop talking. Take a breath. Say something like, let me think about how best to answer that. This pause is neurologically crucial. You give your prefrontal cortex time to come back online. Step 2 is acknowledgement internally. Acknowledge internally what you're feeling. Don't suppress it. Don't just notice it. Say to yourself, I'm frustrated, I'm stressed. My serotonin is probably low. This acknowledgement activates the prefrontal cortex. You're moving from active to observant. Step 3 is the reframe. Ask yourself, is this person intentionally trying to frustrate me? Or are they asking a legitimate question from their perspective? The answer is almost always the latter. They don't know what they don't know. They're not trying to be difficult. They just need clarification. This reframe is powerful. It shifts you from blame to empathy. Step 4, respond diplomatically. Address the question without that irritation or that tone in your voice. That's a great question. Here's what I'm seeing instead of, I've explained this 3 times. See the difference. One honours perspective, one broadcasts your frustration. The magic of this framework is that it breaks the automatic snap. It creates space between your emotion and your response. This is where leadership really happens. Now, the second power move is power move 22, the power pause before response. This is the proactive piece, and it's critical. You can't regulate irritability in the moment if your neurochemical is already depleted. So you build what I call an energy regulation protocol, a system that keeps your neurochemistry balanced. It can include things like a morning protocol, 15 minutes, movement, walking, yoga, exercise, or Even just sitting out in the sun, the early morning sun for 5 minutes, you're telling your nervous system that threat response that you've been running on, we're handling it. We can calm it down. Midday protocol would include protein plus omega-3 resources such as nuts, fish, eggs, seed. Your brain uses these as nutrients to create dopamine. Dopamine is your motivation chemical. The afternoon protocol is a 10-minute pause. No screens, no work, just your nervous system resetting. Your brain gets to metabolize the stress. The evening protocol, 10 to 20 minutes. Take in some natural or low light environment. This boosts your serotonin. Your brain creates serotonin in response to the natural light and movement. And this is ideally best when sunset is occurring. That is the best light if you decide to sit outside. This isn't self-care luxury. This isn't nice to haves. This is your leadership maintenance plan. When your neurochemicals are balanced, irritability doesn't emerge. And when it does, it's much easier to regulate. You're not fighting irritability after the fact. You're preventing it proactively. I want you to lean in and listen, my lovely, because here's the truth bomb. When we snap, we usually think we're snapping because the situation is genuinely frustrating. And sometimes it is. The situation might be legitimately difficult. But the snap itself, the snap is rooted in neurochemical depletion. Here's the coaching question I want you to ask yourself. What am I afraid will happen if I don't respond irritably? This is a meta question because often we snap because we think it will solve something. Maybe we think it will make that person stop asking the question. It won't. It just makes them afraid to ask. Maybe we think it will communicate urgency. It doesn't. It communicates that you're not in control. Maybe you think it will establish authority. It communicates the opposite. Once you identify what you're actually afraid of, you can address it constructively instead of through irritability. Here's what I want you to do this week. Step 1, identify your irritability triggers. What situations trigger snappiness most? Time pressure, status threat, chaos, not being heard, someone questioning your confidence. Write down 2 or 3. Step 2, identify the underlying neurochemistry. For each trigger, ask yourself what neurochemical is probably deleted. If you get snappy under pressure, likely your cortisol is too high and dopamine is too low. If you're snappy when you get questioned, likely serotonin is low. If you get snappy when things are chaotic, you're likely depleted across all 3. Step 3, choose one regulation practice from Power Move 22's energy regulation protocol. Just one, not all 4, one. The thing that you think will have the biggest neurochemistry impact. If you're usually sleep deprived, prioritise your evening protocol. If you're usually hungry, prioritise the midday protocol. If you're usually sedentary, prioritise the morning protocol. Step 4, implement for 1 week, not perfectly, just consistently. Notice, does irritability feel less intense? Do you recover faster when you snap? Step 5, build your pause ritual. When you feel irritability rising, what's your pause ritual? Maybe it's take a breath, count to 3 and say, let me think about that. Maybe it's stand up or take a sip of water to reset. Create a small ritual that signals to your brain we're pausing, we're regulating. Step 6, practice the diplomatic framework in low stakes situations, not with your CEO, not in a crisis, with a colleague. Notice how it feels. For those of you that are insiders of the Leader Within coaching experience, you can try out the AI. It's the one that will help here is the Resilience Builder. For those that aren't insiders, keep listening because I've got something for you too. The Resilience Builder is a custom AI tool designed specifically for leaders managing high-pressure situations. After uploading your personalised Leader Within profile document, it will tell you I'm in a situation where people are questioning my decisions under time pressure, and I'm noticing I'm getting snappy. The Resilience Builder isn't going to just give you generic stress management tip. It analyzes your specific pressure patterns, the neurochemical depletion likely driving your irritability, your particular sensitivities. It will then give you a personalised protocol. For example, the Resilience Builder will identify that you get irritable when your expertise is questioned. It doesn't just tell you to get over it. It will help you prepare for those moments before it happens. You might practice specific responses. You might prepare evidence to back up your thinking. You might practice Power Move 51. Don't buy into the drama until it's automatic. By the time the pressure hits, you're not improvising, you're executing a plan, an implementation intention. For those that don't have access to my custom AI prompts, you can use the generic tools such as ChatGPT or Microsoft Copilot. Upload the Leader Within Savviness Ladder resource. You can head over to the show notes and download it. Tell whatever your preferred AI, Microsoft or ChatGPT is. Put in the prompt, I just listened to a podcast episode about diplomatic poise. The power moves I learned are don't buy into the drama, Power Move 51, and Power Pause Before Response, Power Move 22. Based on the Leader Within method, I believe I'm on rung, and then insert the rung you think you're on the Savviness Ladder for this skill because, and then explain your situation, such as I get snappy under time pressure and struggle to regulate before I snap. Then ask it, can you help me, 1, confirm what this rung typically looks like for diplomatic pause. 2, give me the specific practical ways to not buy into the drama. And 3, create a simple daily practice where I can reset or where I can pause before response with an energy regulation protocol. 4, explain what the rung would look like for diplomatic poise under pressure. Keep it conversational and actionable, not generic. If you want that full prompt, it's in the show notes and you'll be able to copy and paste it. Because you are using generic AI, it may not fully understand the Leader Within method and the power moves that I've stated because they're my own IP, but it will certainly give you a little bit more help than you have now. Let me tell you about Rachel and how she applied these practices I've shared with you today. Rachel is a HR business partner and I coached her about 2 years ago. Rachel was drowning. She had competing priorities difficult team members that she couldn't motivate, a boss who kept adding more to her plate, and somewhere in that pressure cooker, her patience had evaporated. Rachel had developed a reputation. People said, Rachel's a great strategic thinker. She can do a lot of the hard work, but she snaps if you ask any questions. Rachel wasn't aware of the pattern. She just thought people were being inefficient, but the snappiness was limiting her impact. When Rachel came to me, she was at rung 2 or 3 on the diplomatic Poise ladder. She knew she was snappy, but she didn't know how to stop it. We started with the brain science. I explained more about the role of cortisol, dopamine, and serotonin. Rachel had an aha moment saying, you believe my snappiness isn't about people being annoying? It's about my neurochemical chemistry? Yes, it is. So we built her energy regulation protocol. I asked, what's your biggest neurochemical drain right now? Everything. She responded, she's sleep deprived, she's not moving, she's skipping lunch and often breakfast as well. We started with sleep, just sleep. Rachel committed to having a consistent bedtime. Nothing fancy, just going to bed 30 minutes earlier. Within 2 weeks, Rachel noticed a shift. She was less stressed, her irritability was less intense, and she started to be able to catch herself before she snapped. This had given her more bandwidth. We then added movement, so she started just with a simple 15-minute walk every morning. By week 4, people started asking her questions again, and people were seeing that she had more energy in her work and that she was different. By week 8, Rachel was at rung 5 or 6 with the diplomatic Poise. She had the diplomatic framework memorised and her power pause was becoming automatic. 6 months later, Rachel was leading a strategic initiative, which is what she always wanted to do, not because she was smarter, but because she was more approachable, because her nervous system wasn't broadcasting threat response constantly. That's the power of addressing neurochemistry underneath irritability. Now, some of you that are listening may be thinking that you've identified your triggers and you're trying some regulation practices, but you're still struggling to regulate in the moment. You possibly want deeper support on what's driving your irritability. This is exactly what the Leader Within assessment addresses. For 67 Australian dollars, you'll get a personalised video coaching session with me. In that session, I ask you to identify whether your irritability is rooted in burnout or in unmet boundaries or in perfectionism or something else. And I will give you a power move blueprint tailored to your specific situation. You also get access to our next group coaching cohort, which is called the Leader Within Collective. That's a golden ticket for that one session where you can get online, real-life coaching by me. But for now, start with the energy regulation protocol. Your neurochemistry often responds quickly, so you might see shifts within days. As we wrap up this episode, remember this. Diplomatic poise isn't about suppressing your emotion, your irritability. It's about understanding it, regulating it, and leading from a place of neurochemical stability instead of depletion. Your irritability is just information. It's telling you that your nervous system needs support. Listen to that information and then address it, not through willpower, through neurochemistry. you're only one reconstructed thought away from the breakthrough you deserve in your life and leadership journey. And sometimes that thought is, my irritability is information, not failure. It's telling me what I need. I've got one final ask. If this episode has resonated with you, give my podcast a follow. Even better, leave a comment. This lets the algorithm know that you found this valuable, and this simple step will make it more visible to women leaders just like you. Thank you for being here, my lovely, for being willing to understand what's happening underneath your snappiness. This week, notice your triggers, choose one regulation practice, build your pause ritual, and practice the diplomatic framework in low-stakes information. Your leadership presence isn't determined by how much pressure you can handle. It's determined by how you respond under pressure, and that is within your control. Until next episode, keep building that poise. Lead with clarity, passion, and purpose.